Here's something that will blow your mind. Every major religion on Earth incorporates cube symbolism into their most sacred practices. The Islamic Kaaba, Jewish tefillin, Christian church architecture, Hindu temple designs, they all use the same geometric language. This isn't coincidence. It's evidence of a universal symbolic system that predates all organized religions. I'm Dr. Marcus Thorne, and today I'm going to reveal why cube symbolism appears in religious traditions that Symbolism developed independently. What you're about to discover will change how you understand the relationship between spirituality and symbolic programming. Let's start with the most obvious example, the Kaaba in Mecca. This black cube is the focal point of Islamic worship, with millions of people circling it annually during Hajj. But here's what most people don't know. Cube circumambulation rituals exist in cultures that had no contact with Islamic civilization. Hindu temples often feature square sanctuaries called the Garbh Hagriha, literally, womb house. Devotees circle these cubic structures in clockwise patterns called pradakshina. Buddhist stupas follow similar principles, with square bases representing the earth element and circular tops representing the spiritual realm. In Jewish tradition, tefillin, small black cubes worn during prayer, contain sacred texts and are bound to the head and arm. These cube-shaped objects are believed to focus spiritual energy and create connection with divine consciousness. The symbolism is identical to other cube-based spiritual practices. Christian churches, particularly in Orthodox traditions, are often built with cube-based architecture. The Holy of Holies in Solomon's temple was described as a perfect cube. Even modern Christian architecture frequently incorporates square and rectangular designs that echo ancient cube symbolism. But here's the crucial question. Why do completely separate religious traditions all use the same geometric language? The answer lies in understanding what the cube represents at a consciousness level. In esoteric traditions, the cube symbolizes the material world, solid, stable, but also limiting. When religious practitioners focus on cube symbolism, they're working with archetypal forces that can provide structure and grounding. However, when this symbolism is used unconsciously, it can become a form of psychological programming that limits spiritual development rather than enhancing it. The cube is associated with Saturn, the planetary archetype of time, discipline, and earthly boundaries. Ancient astrologers understood that Saturn's energy could provide necessary structure for spiritual development, but when corrupted, it becomes a prison that prevents transcendence. This is why it's crucial to understand the difference between conscious and unconscious religious practice. When people participate in cube-based rituals with full awareness of their symbolic meaning, these practices can be genuinely transformative. But when the same rituals are performed unconsciously, they can become forms of spiritual limitation. The problem with modern religious practice is that most people don't understand the esoteric symbolism they're participating in. They follow traditions without recognizing the psychological effects of geometric forms, architectural designs, and ritual patterns. I've researched these patterns across multiple religious traditions and documented how cube symbolism functions as a universal language of consciousness programming. In my book, The Saturn Conspiracy: How Ancient Cube Worship Controls Modern Reality, I reveal how to recognize and work with these symbols consciously. You can grab your copy for just $2.99 using the link in the description below. The transformation begins with awareness. Once you understand what cube symbolism represents, you can choose how to engage with it. You can participate in religious practices with full consciousness of their psychological effects, or you can recognize when symbolic programming is being used to limit rather than expand your awareness. This isn't about criticizing any particular religion. It's about understanding the symbolic language that underlies all spiritual traditions. When you recognize these patterns, you can work with them consciously rather than being controlled by them unconsciously. Ancient mystery schools taught that geometric forms are the language of creation itself. The cube represents the material world's structure, which is necessary for spiritual development but can become a prison if misunderstood. The key is conscious engagement rather than unconscious participation. Tomorrow, I'll show you how the same symbolic principles appear in modern architecture and urban planning, creating environments that influence consciousness on a massive scale. But first, check out the Sadeze. Gussis. These patterns in your own spiritual practices. The ancient wisdom is still available to those who seek it. The question is, will you remain unconscious of these symbolic influences? Or will you learn to work with them as tools for genuine spiritual development?